What better way to start the American football season than a game in Dublin? I hear this kick-off week is a big deal for you blokes. Well, welcome to the lush green island, where a pint and a wish will bring you some luck. And hopefully these two teams kick off what will be a beautiful day of college football for you.
The lovely country of Ireland with its lush countryside, and we are here in Dublin at Aviva Stadium for the ACC on ESPN. Boston College and Georgia Tech together for game number 1 of their season. BC head coach Steve Addazio with Paul Carcaterra. Carc?
What's it been like for you and your team preparing for your first game of the season in Dublin against a conference opponent?
Well, obviously it's a challenge. We're starting right out of the gate with an ACC conference game. The accommodations here have been great. They've given us a great opportunity to have really good preparation. I feel good about our preparation. And as you know, in first games, you just got to hang in there, play good defense, and don't turn the ball over and don't make too many mistakes.
Defense, never a question. You had the nation's best a year ago. You decided to go with Patrick Towles at quarterback. What do you expect to see from him today? Well,
he's got some veteran leadership. He's been in some big games, and we need that leadership, especially opening up on the road here. He and Darius Wade both had excellent camps. We have great confidence in both of them. Patrick's got the nod today, and we have great confidence in him.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, they've only got him for 1 year, Kelly. I mean, Towles is a grad transfer from Kentucky, so what can you do with a quarterback in one season?
Well, I think that's the million-dollar question that Scott Loeffler has to solve that. You have to maximize his potential. Tremendous physical talent. It's the refinement in the quarterback minutia that you have to figure out. He has a huge arm. He's a big-bodied guy. He has a smooth release. Gunslinger is the name used for him, the description at times, and that lives right next door to interception thrower if you're not doing it right. So there's some NFL-style coaching that needs to take place, and Loeffler really is the guy. He had the same situation with Logan Thomas at Virginia Tech. There's some similarity there. You have to figure out a way to maximize this guy's time.
On the other side for Georgia Tech, Justin Thomas, third-year starter at quarterback.
And he's going to be surrounded, Justin Thomas is, by a much better supporting cast than he was a year ago. And we know that. Justin Thomas is quite simply the best quarterback that Paul Johnson has ever had running his system. There's no doubt about that. The 2014 version of Justin Thomas, the 2014 version of Georgia Tech offensively is a winner. But you have to take care of the football, and you have to have people to distribute the football too. Thomas didn't do that well last year. He got down on himself just a little bit, but the supporting cast is going to be better. Up front on the offensive line, and also the fullback and the A-backs that carry the football.
We're just about ready to go from Dublin, Ireland. Georgia Tech and BC opening ACC play. Off we go. And a touchback for Miles Willis, the sophomore from New Jersey, for Boston College. So we see Patrick Towles. You mentioned the high risk, high reward. You look at his touchdown interception numbers at Kentucky, and they were not exactly where you'd want them to be.
Yeah, and he actually ended his career there throwing 1 touchdown and 8 interceptions down the stretch. He got pulled for the last 2 games, and you can see what he did in 2015. 9 TDs, 14 INTs, and obviously that doesn't get it done. And Scott Loeffler has his work cut out for him. Physical skill set is there. The mental has to come a long way today.
First play of the season for Boston College. John Hilleman is the tailback for Steve Addazio's Eagles on first down. And it is Hilleman with the carry to the 30, second down and 5 coming up. Well, Boston College offensively was the lagging unit last year. With a top-rated defense in college football,
You're
they
being
played a lot
awfully
of,
kind.
That's certainly true.
Yeah, lagging unit, no doubt about it. But you're right. They were so bad offensively that they couldn't take advantage of what really, statistically at least, was the best defense in college football 1 year ago.
The community feel around here in Dublin has rubbed off on me already, Kelly.
Very, very nice man.
On second down, the pile pushes forward for a gain of a couple. Rod Rook-Chungong with the tackle. Talked about the Boston College offense, second worst in raw quarterback rating. That's 4 separate quarterbacks, though. There were injury troubles at that position, and Darius Wade, who Steve Adazio mentioned, was injured last year, played only 3 games before he broke his ankle. And they're hoping to solidify that spot with Towles this year. 3rd and 1 for BC. Towles runs it himself, and he's got the first down by plenty, according to the official coming in.
Jason, I think it's important to talk about, you know, the ineptitude of BC offensively a year ago, and they start this game to get in 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 3 followed by a 3rd and 1. They convert and continue to possess the football.
Only 26.5% on 3rd down last year, 126th in the FBS. So Towles, who spent his entire life in Kentucky before this grad transfer, has steered the offense just short of midfield. Off play action, Towles on the roll. Cuts back inside, and Towles makes something out of nothing across midfield into plus territory. 2nd down on the way.
Scott Loeffler told us that the thing that he wanted to do with Towles is to get him outside on boots like this and cut the field in half. But in the end, Towles makes a great decision right there, Jason. There wasn't anybody open. It was kind of a flood situation. 3 receivers to one side. All of them were covered, and the quarterback makes a great decision by running with the football.
Remember, we were talking to Ted Roof yesterday, the defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech. He said, look, I've heard that Towles has had some long runs already in spring practice and in getting ready for the season. So the feet are there for the former Kentucky Wildcat. On the ground again for Hilleman. A couple of yards short, 3rd and manageable again, Kel.
The other thing that we're seeing early in this game is that it's called 12 personnel. It's 2 tight ends, a single back, and 2 wide receivers. And Steve Adazio talked to us about the fact that he likes the versatility of that personnel grouping. And now they come in with a bigger package, but a lot of flexible personnel in that group that they can play most of the game with.
Michael Giacone, an extra tight end, is in. Bobby Wolford, the fullback, is in as well. Third down and short out of the gun. Towles too high and intercepted. Corey Griffin, who had the pass interference call earlier, creates the turnover for Georgia Tech.
The interception bug strikes again, and 3rd and short, Towles goes right to the right place. It was a good play by Brant Mitchell breaking underneath that, but the ball came out like a bar of soap. I think that's the first time that we see the effect of the field conditions today. That ball came out hot and high because it was wet, and it gets picked off.
So Towles, who in his final 6 games at Kentucky went 1 touchdown, 8 interceptions, has his first interception at BC. Talented freshman is in, Dedrick Mills, playing that B-back spot, and he gets engulfed on a 1st down carry by that talented defensive line, and Truman Goodapple, the senior.
And Goodapple is a defensive tackle. He plays the 3 technique, and a lot of times that's going to be the read key for Justin Thomas. Because remember, the core of what Paul Johnson wants to do is the triple option. It's establish the fullback inside, get the quarterback to the edge in option 2, and then the pitch is option 3.
Thomas keeps it himself this time to the edge into plus territory. And you talk about the season Justin Thomas had in the Orange Bowl 2 years ago, 200+ yards per game, reason to flex. But last year that dropped to 152 or so yards per game, pushed him about 40 spots down in the FBS. And you talked about what changed. There was some injuries significantly around him.
Yeah, he was minus literally his best 2 receivers and the top 7 ball carriers on the team outside of himself.
First down for the Yellow Jackets. Opening drive for Georgia Tech here in Dublin. Thomas the other way. Pitches this time, and that gets swallowed up. Quay Searcy drilled by Connor Strahan, who you heard Cart talk about earlier, the middle linebacker.
Yeah, Strahan runs from the inside out and makes a tremendous play, and that's exactly the way you're supposed to defend the option. Take away the fullback. When the quarterback gets to the edge, get him to the ground, and then chase down the pitch with a bunch of guys rallying to the football. That's picture perfect right there for Boston College.
Which has to play sort of a vanilla version of its own defense today, right?
They do. They want to be aggressive, but it's hard to be aggressive against this option team.
Thomas on the roll. Gets taken down behind the line. Strahan again, his second straight tackle for a BC defense that led the nation in tackles for loss last year, 3rd and long.
Hey, Jason, when we talked to Coach Adazio yesterday, how many times did he use the words athletic and fast describing his own defense? You ask him for a weakness, and I don't believe he ever actually gave us one. And I think that's what we're seeing. Strahan is the middle linebacker, and you see the speed, and we haven't even talked about Matt Milano yet. He's faster altogether.
A guy that Steve Adazio thinks is going to play on Sundays, by the way, Milano. 3rd down and 15 for Georgia Tech. Thomas to throw. Has time. And he's got his man over the middle. Right at the 40, going to be short to Ricky June. Where do you go? 4th and 1.
I know where Paul Johnson goes. He's the master at going for it on 4th and 1, so I don't think it's a question with that guy right there. But 3rd and 15 is how you get off the field against Georgia Tech. But Justin Thomas, Jason, is an underrated passer running this option, and that was a tremendous throw right there.
4th down and 1 for Georgia Tech. First quarter. Thomas, the pitch. First down. Clinton Lynch gets a couple and moves the sticks. Will Harris, the sophomore safety, belted him.
Paul Johnson's system of running the option, he calls it the spread option, is all about getting in 3rd and 4th and manageable situations. It's very difficult to stop this team when they're consistently in that position right there.
Third first down of the drive for Georgia Tech. And they'll go straight up the middle this time. Dedrick Mills again, the freshman who Paul Johnson is very high on.
And you started hearing Paul Johnson talk about Dedrick Mills early in training camp. A true freshman. He was a linebacker as well as a running back in high school. He's a very physical guy, and some things that coaches notice in camp is my defense is having a hard time stopping this guy. So maybe we should play him more. Than that's exactly what has happened with Mills.
Paul Johnson raved about his vision already as a freshman. Thomas, pitch again, and Mills, luckily for Georgia Tech, reels it in. Strahan was in there one more time on a loss of 3, 3rd down and 11.
Because of the pressure by Boston College right there on Justin Thomas getting out on the edge of that pitch. This pitch was behind Mills, and Mills as a freshman did a great job of stopping and catching that football, or it could have ended up on the ground.
3rd tackle for loss for BC here.
Look at the location of this pitch right there. That's a tremendous play by a freshman.
Could have been a turnover, wasn't. 3rd and 11 under 4.5 first quarter. Flag down, Thomas wings it. It is caught at the 5-yard line. Searcy If it stands, 1st and goal, Georgia Tech.
Offside. Defense, number 94. The penalty is declined.
Searcy is going to run a post right down the middle of the field, and you can see the split safeties on the back end. Searcy, number 1, just simply runs right up the field, and once again, the ball placement by Thomas, I think, is very underrated in this offense.
It's a hit of 35 on 3rd and 11, now 1st and goal. Mills, a short gain, gets about half of it. 2nd and goal, so much pressure they put on this BC defense, a team that hasn't seen them since 2012.
Well, and you talked about it, that BC is really a attacking, downhill, blitz type of defense, and the nature of the triple option makes you play really vanilla, and that's what we see. And sometimes you can lose your edge as a defense if you have to play in a way that you're not accustomed to.
Matthew Jordan is into the game at quarterback, in for Thomas. Jordan to the edge, touchdown! He ran the ball 37 times last year. He's in for Thomas to cap the drive.
It's an interesting time to not see Thomas in there. I don't know if he got injured on that play before. He didn't get hit on the pass, but something was not right between a redshirt sophomore and a true freshman, and it ended up really well for Georgia Tech, however.
11 plays, 54 yards in nearly half the quarter. And Harrison Butker for the extra point to make it 7-0 Georgia Tech. Miles Willis back to receive, and discretion the better part of valor for him this time. BC with its 2nd drive coming up. Downstairs, Clark trying to avoid the weather.
Yeah, I know you two are bone dry. I am not. It is rainy down here. It's been raining all morning long, and Patrick Towles, the quarterback from Boston College, he's had to swap out his towel around his waist a couple times. You saw him throw that interception. Before the game, Paul Johnson, the Georgia Tech head coach, told me this is a different kind of track. He said when it gets wet, it gets really slick. It reminds him of the longer grass at Notre Dame or Air Force when he would travel there as the Navy coach. But you got to be careful. It's really slick. One last thing. Justin Thomas looks fine for Georgia Tech.
That's good news for the Yellow Jackets. Thanks, Clark. Towles back out there with his offense. They'll run it on 1st down. Hilliman doesn't get much at all as he's undercut by Lance Austin, one of 2 Austin brothers on the team. They are twins. 2nd down coming up.
With Boston College's last drive, they got into 3rd and manageable quite often. 3rd and 3 was the interception. 3rd and 1 before that, the quarterback sneak, and then they were in a 3rd and 2 as well. So they're getting into the right places, but with a new quarterback and a new play caller, you have to find ways to finish.
They'll go with Hilliman again as he barrels through the defense for 6. 3rd down coming up as Step Durham, the junior, made the stop.
Hilliman is a very important piece to the puzzle. I think he was the heir apparent, really on track to be that to Andre Williams. Remember Andre Williams' epic year in 2013. That was Adazio's first year. That's who Adazio wants to be offensively. And John Hilliman has that look about him, the physical ability to be that workhorse, and they need to get him lathered up.
210 carries as a freshman for him. He is out on 3rd and 9. Towles tucks it and does not have enough room to get to the marker. 4th down on the way for BC after an opening drive that ended in a pick. Looks like punt time.
Hey, Jason, if BC can consistently funnel you to 3rd in a passing down, you have no shot to move the ball against this team. It's just not going to happen. And you can see Towles kind of struggling with the progression of things. That's what Scott Loeffler is trying to get Patrick Towles to understand, to go through his progression. Right now, he's getting out of the pocket prematurely.
The punt time for BC for the first time this year. And Brad Stewart is back to receive. He breaks a tackle. Stewart just short of midfield. A net of 22 on the punt. Will they get one more play off before the end of the first quarter? And the answer is yes. They go straight up the middle. We've seen Mills in that spot quite a bit already today. He gets 3, and we are 15 minutes deep in the opener in Ireland. Georgia Tech with a 7-0 lead. Opening game in the ACC. The bands have been fired up. Georgia Tech opportunistic early, and they punched it in. Jackets lead by 7. Not far from the Irish Sea to our east, Dublin, Ireland, the site of mostly a running affair so far. 23 plays, 20 have been on the ground. Georgia Tech has a 2nd down and 19 with a holding penalty on this drive. First play, quarter number 2, Justin Thomas with a pitch. And a couple of yards to the 45 for Dedrick Mills once again, the former first-team All-Stater out of Ware County High School in Georgia. 3rd and long on the way.
And 3rd and long has actually been pretty friendly to Georgia Tech in this game. 3rd and 15, they got to 4th and 1 and converted on 4th down, and then 3rd and 11, they threw the long pass down the field. So usually 3rd and long is the way to get off the field defensively against Georgia Tech. It hasn't been that way for Boston College today.
Georgia Tech was outstanding 2 years ago on 3rd down. Last year that dropped significantly. Thomas giving ground. Thomas back to the 25. Thomas eludes trouble and flips it to the 40 where it's incomplete. Looking for Mills. Good apple, the defensive lineman, was all over him as Strahan applied the pressure. 4th down.
And Matt Milano was up on the edge as well, and I think that's what Justin Thomas is already discovering, is sometimes when you want to get out the escape hatch, you're facing much more speed defensively than you typically are used to, and that's what we saw in that play. Nowhere for Justin Thomas to go.
So our first look at Ryan Rodwell, the punter for Georgia Tech. Tyler Rouse, the Central New York native, back to receive. Rouse says get away as he checks back up. Doubles back to about the 32-yard line. Towles back out. Play action fake. And his throw is there to the 48. Charlie Callanan, sort of an H-back for Boston College with his first catch.
Yeah, wide receiver goes vertical, and then Callan, who's really kind of a hybrid tight end / wide receiver, just settles down into that void that was made possible because of the vertical outside of him. And there you see the touch by Towles.
First completion there goes for a 1st down. Callanan, who's high school, St. Peter's Prep, played the game here a couple of days ago in Dublin. Towles the long way this time to the outside, and he has a catch for Jeff Smith, the former quarterback, who's out of bounds, short of the line to gain, gives 7, 2nd down.
Covered by Lance Austin outside. That was a very good job by Towles getting it out. Austin was very soft on the receiver. You talked about it. Jeff Smith brings a speed element to the wide receiver position at Boston College that they haven't had. Adazio actually said it resembles the speed that he saw with Florida when he was there.
That's high praise for what that offense did. 2nd down carry for Hillman has a 1st down for Boston College. Move the sticks. Just short of the 40-yard line. BC going downhill successfully so far in the drive.
And you said it, Jason, downhill. You can hear the pads popping. I hope you can catch that at home. And that's who John Hillman is. He needs to be that pile mover. Extend the drive as you get into 3rd and manageable situations, move the chains, and ultimately get points on the board.
Remember a couple of years ago, I had that huge pinstripe bowl ran for nearly 150 yards for BC. He gets it again and gets tripped up behind the line. Georgia Tech sets up 2nd down and long. It's Antonio Simmons with the tackle.
And BC going more to their 2-back presentation right now, with Bobby Wolford being the lead fullback, and he's basically just a slightly undersized guard leading Hilleman up in the hole.
Second and long for Towles. Near side, and let's see, it is caught. Tommy Sweeney. Now the near side official is going to run in and say incomplete, so no catch, 3rd down.
I think Towles ends up coming to the right guy, which was really the 3rd guy in the progression, but that ball was certainly on the ground. You could see Towles get caught in the progression a little bit. His feet didn't catch up with his eyes, and that ball was thrown low into the ground, and Sweeney couldn't come up with it.
Something to learn in a new offense. Over from Kentucky, 3rd down, 11. Towles has it across the 30. Jeff Smith again, his 2nd catch of the drive. Gain of 14 and a 1st down.
Tremendous throw by Towles. Very well executed as well. Jeff Smith is going to end up running a deep in route in front of safeties. You can see their big tight end draws the underneath coverage, clears out for number 6, Jeff Smith, but that's the throw that Towles can make. It's just a matter of getting him up to speed in the scheme of things.
You almost see him developing as this game goes, right?
This drive has been a good one for Patrick Towles.
BC runs it again. Miles Willis driven back.
And BC has a couple of timeouts left, and before the snap of that last play, there was over 2 minutes. So I don't think there was really that big of an advantage to go fast right there.
Don't want to leave too much time on the clock as well for Georgia Tech.
No reason to do that.
Second down, 11. Willis again crashes down inside the 20. 3rd down on the way. Kashun Freeman with the tackle. A guy who was injured early in camp, and a timeout BC for Steve Adazio. Paul Johnson, in his 9th season with Georgia Tech, has his defense back out on the field. 3rd and 6 for BC. 3 out of 7 on 3rd down today. Callanan in motion. Towles to throw. Lost the ball. It's intercepted right at the line. Kyle Surge Henderson essentially got it handed to him.
Remember the wasted 2nd down play because of the hurry up, and you're forced to throw it 3rd and 6, and this is the result. Surge Henderson gets one handed to him. I'm not sure that, the ball does, I think, get hit. This might be reviewed to see whether that arm was coming forward or not, but it was picked off anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But I think that wasted play on 2nd down leads to that disaster on 3rd in a scoring situation for BC.
Couple of turnovers for Towles. Mentioned the high-risk propensity for the transfer from Kentucky. Georgia Tech with some time to work with. Not exactly a quick strike passing offense in situations like this. And Dedrick Mills gets a touch again as Towles. 2 picks, no touchdowns so far, but the team's in the game, only down 1 score. Looks like Paul Johnson is ready to run down this clock.
Both coaches expected this to be a hard-fought, low-scoring affair anyway, so I think Paul Johnson's completely happy being up 7 in this weather going into halftime. Mills again, tumbling forward, very close.
I mean, look, you're flying to Dublin. You're in your first conference game. You're getting used to the players around you. This is a tough spot.
Yeah, Paul Johnson knew that he was going against one of the best defenses that they will play all year, quite frankly.
Clock back to 28, only to wind back down again. Let's see if Georgia Tech does anything more than one play. They're going to have to snap it one more time. Play clock is at 12. One last play for Georgia Tech in the first half, and that will do it. 30 minutes in the books from Dublin, and the Yellow Jackets have the only score. It was the reserve quarterback, Matthew Jordan, who found the end zone early on, and Paul Johnson's team, which will get the ball after halftime, has a 7-0 lead, and quite the grinder this Saturday. Downstairs, Paul Carcaterra with Steve Adazio.
Coach, Georgia Tech always brings a run game element. Last year, they led the conference in rushing. You've held this unit to under 35 yards. How?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing a great job on defense. We let up a couple of third down throws early that led to 6. And on offense, we're moving the football right now. We've had 2 turnovers, you know, which you can't do, especially down here at the end like that. The ball kind of came out of his hands, and we lost that ball when we were in point scoring range. We had an opportunity with a field goal earlier. We had a low kick. We weren't able to connect on that, but we've been able to move the football. We got to just come out in the second half, stick to our plan, keep playing great defense, move the football, score some points.
What will you tell Patrick Towles in terms of the turnovers at half?
I mean, Pat's done a great job. I mean, we had a high tip ball early. That last one wasn't his fault. We had a little pressure off the right edge. The guy swatted at the ball in his throw in motion. I think he's managed the game well.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
BC was shut out twice last year, trailing 7-0 to Georgia Tech at halftime in Dublin. A lovely week in Dublin, Ireland. The countryside and the River Liffey coursing through as the ACC on ESPN comes to Ireland. 7-0 your score at Georgia Tech with the lead over Boston College. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer, Paul Carcaterra along with you. You know, they packed thousands of pieces of equipment here to get to Ireland, but the one thing they forgot was the leather helmets. It's a grinder today.
It really is. I mean, this is a beautiful place, but this is ugly weather to play football in.
Here's how it started for Georgia Tech offensively.
Yeah, ironically, it's been through the air. This one's to Cersei from Justin Thomas, and then the backup quarterback, Matthew Jordan, pays it off. I don't know where Thomas went on that play, but that was really the only scoring. Patrick Towles threw a couple of interceptions, but that one came out of his hand incorrectly, but it was to the right guy, and this wasn't his fault. Pressure off the right edge, and it hits his elbow. 4 out of 5 of the drives by Boston College have ended in the right place in the scoring zone. They just haven't been able to get points.
It's the first kickoff of the year for Boston College, and it turns into a nice run for Georgia Tech, and Green outside of the 40-yard line. Downstairs to Cart.
Kelly, you mentioned in the first half the field conditions didn't look too bad. Well, you're wrong, and Paul Johnson from Georgia Tech would agree with me. He just told me his guys are slipping and sliding all over the place, and it's really difficult to get that option game going. Boston College defense has been rock solid, holding Georgia Tech to under 40 yards. He said defensively, though, they need to fire up some pressure, really send the house and get after Patrick Towles if they're going to win this game.
See how aggressive Georgia Tech can get. Don't want to play much man coverage, Ted Roof said, with the wet track as Thomas gets engulfed behind the line. Second down and long coming up. Matt Milano, the talented senior, with the stop. Kelly, why is it so difficult in the rain for this triple spread option?
I think it's all about the footing, and remember the triple option, even though you keep the ball on the ground, there's a lot of meticulous ball handling. And I think that's what's happening right now, but it's more about those guys. Milano and company, that defense for BC is really, really good.
Loss of 3 officially, second down for Thomas. Straight up the gut, and not much there. That defensive line for Boston College, Landry, Goodapple, Smith, and Kavalik swarm to Mills. Milano was there as well.
And we're starting to hear more about Milano already in this second half. And he's the speed guy that really plays strong outside linebacker position, but he's a hybrid guy. He's going to play maybe strong safety in the NFL. That's how fast and athletic that 28 Milano is, and we've already seen him in on 2 early plays in the second half.
Georgia Tech's average third down has been 10+ yards so far this afternoon in Dublin. Quick hit to the outside, Brad Stewart, and incomplete. 4th down for Georgia Tech. Stewart, whose grandfather Jim was a fullback for Auburn back in the 50s. Stewart's parents have made the trip here, as many have. And the 4th 3 and out for Georgia Tech already today.
Yeah, and Boston College defensively does their job. When you start the second half, you want your defense that's going to take the field, which is your best unit, to get off the field quickly and give it back to your offense as soon as you can.
Rodwell to punt. Rouse awaiting, and he waves it off. Another one checks up for Rodwell, the 37. Here in Dublin, St. Stephen's Green, downtown, the beautiful arch at Trinity College.
Welcome to the lush and scenic Emerald Isle. A couple of our residents prefer you stay off the grass. Don't worry though, there's plenty to go around.
We showed you St. Stephen's Green on the way out here in Dublin. 100 years ago in this country, they started to fight for their independence. It was called the Easter Rising. Fighting was temporarily suspended back in 1916 to let the park's groundspeople feed the ducks at St. Stephen's Green. That's how collegial they are here. They said, stop fighting, we have to feed the ducks. Now back to play, and back to play for us. BC, first down from across the 25, and as we've seen quite a bit today, BC on the ground. Hilleman breaks it free inside the 30-yard line. Hilleman to the 10, and he's in. Touchdown! John Hilleman, 73 yards.
Well, this is exactly what John Hilleman hoped to be doing a year ago. And the injury that happened in the 4th game of the year, and then he was gone for the rest of the season.
Extra point for Lichtenberg is there, and BC, just like that, after some promising first half drives, takes just one play from the redshirt sophomore out of New Jersey, John Hilleman. A 73-yard run in Dublin in a tie ball game. That's the library at Trinity College. The presidents of all 3 schools got a chance to tour earlier this week, and busts of famous thinkers like Hamilton and Locke and Stauffer. That one still is being worked on in the marble room.
They weren't quite done with that one.
7-7 Georgia Tech, Boston College on a 73-yard sprint from Hilleman. And the Eagles, on their 23rd running play of the game, have put us at level pegging. Touchback, Georgia Tech.
Well, John Hilleman was supposed to be the workhorse a year ago before the injury, but this play is just really an attitude check for this game. 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. Tyler Rouse was in front of Hilleman on that play, and it was get a hat on a hat, get physical, and see if we can be the toughest team today.
How about Step Durham's glove sailing into the Irish air? Now, the folks that are new to American football are going to believe that that happens all the time.
On every touchdown, that glove flies in the air like that.
That's
right?
the signal for touchdown.
I like it.
Learning something new every day. First down for Georgia Tech, and Marcus Marshall squeezes through a tiny gap. for a nice gain on first down. Second and medium coming up for Georgia Tech.
Well, if you're Georgia Tech, Jason, you have to get right back to who you are, and what you need to be doing is trying to establish the fullback, which sets the table for your triple option. The triple option is the heart and soul of what Paul Johnson wants to do offensively, and it hasn't amounted to much in this game thus far.
We told you BC hasn't seen Georgia Tech since 2012, but Steve Adazio has some experience with the triple option and defending it. When he was coaching up in Connecticut, he and Paul Pasqualoni used to kind of travel around. Coach P was running some of the triple option, the defensive line coach now for Boston College. So there's some understanding of what Georgia Tech's trying to do on that BC sideline.
The difficult part, especially to begin the season against this offense, is it's difficult to practice against, because a lot of the offensive blocking scheme is cutting the defenders to the ground, and you obviously don't want to do that in practice to your own guys. So it's a very difficult thing to get a look in terms of what Georgia Tech likes to do.
3rd down and 1 for Thomas in the offense. Quick pitch. Marshall again, got a block out front. Down the sideline he goes. First down, Georgia Tech inside the 40-yard line. It's a gain of 18. Biggest run for Georgia Tech today.
And here's the changeup. We've seen fullback multiple times. This time it's a slight motion right before the snap, and the same guy who's carried the ball in the A-gaps right around the center the previous 4 plays, now he gets a pitch outside.
And Willis and Searcy, the other backs, with successful blocks on that carry. Willis out in front that time. Penetration was too much. Zach Allen, the sophomore out of the state of Connecticut, with the stop.
Zach Allen just makes a nice move, and you can see him up at the top. Keeps his feet. The offensive lineman, number 65, Trey Clark, was trying to get into the feet of Zach Allen. Zach Allen, number 2, did a nice job of using his hands, keeping the offensive lineman off of him, making a play.
6th tackle for loss for Boston College already today. Georgia Tech will run it again, straight up the gut. Ball's on the deck. BC is on it. Good apple with the recovery. Mills put it on the ground. You said it, the freshmen having to deal with bigger hits in ACC play than in high school.
Well, Jason, you and I talked about this yesterday when Paul Johnson told us that Dedrick Mills, the fullback, the freshman fullback, would start. I said to you, be aware of ball security, because at the high school level, you get a big hit once in a while. At this level, you get hit hard all the time. John Johnson, the safety, the free safety, was the one that recovered the football and put the big hit on him. And that's what the true freshman has to be aware of. Ball security. It's not the guys that you see, it's the guys that you don't see that jar the ball loose.
Georgia Tech Clemson very early this year, a couple weeks into the season on a Thursday night. Towles a dart over the middle and a first down to the 45. His favorite target has been Charlie Callanan. And Boston College once again, he hits Georgia Tech territory. It's a gain of 15.
Patrick Towles is throwing the ball well. You can tell that he feels comfortable getting really good protection. I think the footing right now is in favor of the protection, the offensive line for Boston College. Georgia Tech's getting 0 to no penetration.
Tie game after 3 quarters in beautiful Dublin, Ireland. Yes, we have American college football here in Ireland, but also high school football during the week in Dublin. 3 separate states were represented. Cheerleaders as well. High school football making its way to the Emerald Isle.
How does that happen? My high school didn't even leave the county in Nebraska.
You didn't leave the county?
No, I don't think we ever left the county. They leave the country.
We'll try and get you a couple more trips, all right, retroactively. There you see Hilliman, the running back for Boston College, John Hilliman, who's high school alma mater, played here, St. Peter's Prep in New Jersey. He and Charlie Callanan were keeping track. Callanan, the wide receiver, has had a nice day. 3 catches, 38 yards on a team leading 4 targets. Their school added shamrocks on the sides of their helmets. On the run, Gilliman for a couple of yards. Downhill for 2. Second down coming up.
Yeah, Jason, you have to wonder in a 7-7 game, which we thought would be low scoring, you wonder if Boston College has missed so many opportunities, you know, getting into the plus territory and just not getting points. The touchdown they have came on a really long run. We'll see how the rest of this game plays out.
Gilliman to 100 yards. Now Willis this time, darting across the 40, and he is just short. We'll give him the 37. It's going to be 3rd and 2 for BC.
Boston College has begun to run the ball well downhill, and now they're starting to get outside, and just like, say, a Boston College defensively had to get up to speed against the option of Georgia Tech, Boston College offensively, their offensive line has to get up to speed as well, and you can see them starting to cover up defenders more aggressively and consistently in the second half.
3rd down and short. Gilliman finds his way to the 35. It depends on the spot. He needed dead on the 35-yard line. And first down.
Hilliman's kind of a nifty runner. Watch the guy he makes miss right there at the line of scrimmage. You can see the defender flash across the face of the blocker, and Hilliman does a nice job of jumping outside one hole and getting just enough to convert right there.
First down for BC compared to 6 for Georgia Tech this afternoon. Play action fake, Towles down the sideline, has a completion inside the 10-yard line. Chris Garrison, the redshirt freshman, on the wheel for a first down, Boston College.
A great use of your versatile personnel. 81 right there, Garrison is in the fullback position, so he ends up running a route on a defender that's not used to covering guys from in there. And it's not just a fullback type body. In the end, it's kind of a hybrid H-back, and very well thrown once again by Towles.
It was 10 out of 14 for 122. Couple of turnovers, but none in the second half. Tyler Rouse picking his way for a few yards to the 6.5. 2nd and goal for Boston College. Tyler Rouse, one of the captains for BC, a guy that Steve Adazio brought in, one of his few recruits that very first year.
Yeah, Adazio refers to Tyler Rouse as one of the ultimate dudes, which in Adazio's language is a really, really good thing. That's a high compliment. He's a captain, and he's really the picture-perfect recruit, showing people what hard work does.
Very under-recruited. BC got him. Towles to throw, end zone, too much, incomplete. He wanted Tommy Sweeney, the sophomore tight end. It's 3rd down.
Right guy, it was late. I mean, we've seen that a few different times, and Towles just can't wait for this guy to get open. Tommy Sweeney in this case, a big tight end going to the back of the end zone. That ball needed to be up earlier, and it needed to be headed right to that pylon.
Towles in his first game at Boston College, the transfer from Kentucky. Third and goal. Towles breaks out of the pocket. Towles, touchdown! Boston College with 2 unanswered scores. Lichtenberg the extra point. And BC with a 14-7 lead. You know, in this country, you're born one step ahead of everybody else on the way to hero with the name Patrick. Towles to the end zone. The coach who brought him in from UK says, all right, 14-7. Dublin, Ireland, where we were serenaded during the break. The bands are doing Sweet Caroline. Thought if anything we get like Thin Lizzy, the boys are back in town, something with an Irish flair, but Neil Diamond plays across continents as Georgia Tech trails for the first time this season, 14-7 BC, as the Yellow Jackets have had 5 3-and-outs in their last 7 possessions. Short kick to the 10-yard line. And Green keeps his feet across the 30. So now Thomas and Georgia Tech looking for an important drive. He wings it down the field, a lot of contact. Incomplete on June. Second down on the way as Thomas and Towles try to lead their teams to a first ACC win.
Thomas has actually thrown the ball decently in that first half. That was the only way they extended drives, with converting on 3rd and long a couple of times. But Towles has gotten hot. You can tell that he feels very good about the game currently. The ball's spinning out of his hand much better as of late than it did early in this one.
And a Georgia Tech team which has the most rushing yards in the country the last 8 years, held to 86 so far, 3 quarters plus. And that's going absolutely nowhere. Dedrick Mills, who fumbled earlier, wrapped up and dropped by Goodapple, who's had a very nice day on the defensive line, the senior.
And we knew that Boston College defensively was a reason for optimism we talked about for the Boston College football faithful, and Goodapple is a big reason why. He anchors that 3-tech defensive line position, and he can handle so much himself on that defensive line of scrimmage.
Best defense in the FBS last year, yardage-wise. BC trying to hold up on 3rd down, and Thomas pierces it to the 46-yard line on a 1st down catch for Brad Stewart.
Brad Stewart matched up on the high safety on that side was John Johnson. You can see Stewart will come inside, gets to the inside shoulder of Johnson, and then comes back for the football and gave Justin Thomas a very good look at the numbers.
Wakes you up pretty quickly when they throw it after the option,
no doubt,
right?
And to pick up and convert, that's impressive.
So 1st down, Georgia Tech. Just the 8th of the day for the Yellow Jackets. Thomas, blockers in front. Mills got lit up, and Thomas, they say it's Georgia Tech ball. BC said he put it on the turf. This is going to be Georgia Tech football.
You can see Justin Thomas going to the towel and trying to dry himself off a little bit. And even though Georgia Tech doesn't put the football in the air, the moisture on the ball still matters. You can see the collision right there was a vicious one on Mills, the freshman running back, and the knee was down, I believe, before that ball was pulled out.
That's the way it'll stay. Gain of 5 for Thomas. Mills gets another carry after the earlier fumble, and he shakes into BC territory even deeper to the 19-yard line.
That's the jeopardy at playing the triple option offense. You're one missed tackle or one missed assignment away from giving up a big one. And Mills does a nice job of securing the ball in traffic and then bouncing outside. Maybe cut back a little prematurely right there, but nonetheless a positive play for Georgia Tech.
1st down, straight up the gut, and nothing there. Zach Allen came in to submarine that play, and Mills. 2nd down after the run of 21. He only gets maybe 1 at that time.
Zach Allen, that defensive end, came hard down the line of scrimmage and had the fullback on that play. Typically, if Justin Thomas is doing a good job of reading that option, he pulls that ball and gets to the edge and gets to that second and third option.
That might be the MVP right there.
No
the
doubt.
towel on the ball, with the rain coming down for most of the afternoon in Dublin. Late morning stateside. Thomas, toss. Marshall has no help on the fringe. BC hems him in. Connor Strahan once more. That linebacker has been magnificent.
Your fullback is not going to get outside on Connor Strahan. It's just not going to happen. The middle linebacker runs like a strong safety.
Now, do you play for 4th down? Do you try and get a portion of it here?
I think that's the way Paul Johnson's offense is built anyway. I think you keep the ball on the ground right here. You try to get in a 4th and manageable situation and then make the decision whether you go for it or not from there.
Thomas giving ground. Thomas chased by Allen. He just has to whip it out of bounds. And incomplete. 4th down, Georgia Tech.
I think 4th and this long. Jason, do you agree with me? I think you kick a field goal knowing that your defense hopefully can give you at least one more possession offensively to try to get the ball back with, say, 14-10.
Well, Harrison Butker's coming out, but even with the way BC's bleeding clock here today, you think?
I think you have to, with 6 minutes left, I think you have to count on your defense and trying to get the ball back one more time for you offensively.
Butker 3 out of 4 between 30 and 39 yards last year. This is at the edge of it, 39 for Harrison Butker. And he makes it a 4-point game. Georgia Tech back on the board for the first time since 3:11 in the first quarter. It's 14-10 BC with under 6 to play in Dublin this afternoon. The splendid landscape of Dublin, Ireland, where BC leads 14-10, under 6 to go in the 4th quarter. BC trying to win a conference game for the first time in a long while, football or basketball. No wins last year for either. TCU was the most recent team to do it back in '77, but that year they almost beat Texas Tech, that was 5th ranked in the country that season. So they were close. How about Sewanee? 6 times the University of the South. I mean, at that point, you just fold the programs, don't you?
I think you do. I think you blow it right up.
But Steve Adazio said, look, we had to restock somewhat based on what was here, piecemealed it for a couple of seasons, made a few bowl games, and now this is the time when he feels like his team can really load up to be in their wheelhouse of what he'd like to see. So 14-10 off the Butker field goal from 39 yards out for Georgia Tech, and the challenge for BC is to get those 5:57 off the clock and keep the score. Line drive through the end zone, downstairs, Paul Carcaterra.
Who was that quarterback for Sewanee? It must have been Jason Benetti. It looks like Boston College has found their guy. Patrick Towles, keep in mind this kid played at Kentucky. He was there for 4 years, had a redshirt year, just arrived to BC. You would never know it by his body language, pacing up and down the sideline. He is the guy in charge of this offense. He's hooting and hollering. And you look what he's doing on the field, the dual threat capabilities. He's giving this Boston College offense a totally different dimension. He's 6'5", 250, and runs a 4.58.
We've seen the legs on display card so far today. Had that rushing touchdown earlier to cap the scoring for BC so far as Hilleman gets maybe a yard. And on Towles, his nickname is Patty Ice. You remember a bunch of years ago they had a guy named Matt Ryan here who they called Matty Ice.
I remember that guy.
It fits.
I think it does, and this is where you earn that reputation in games like this, being able to close it out. If you get in a 3rd down situation right here, being able to make the right throw to the right guy and extend a drive and kill this clock.
Second down, 10. Hilliman again thrust backward and maybe a yard. Antonio Simmons was the first in for Georgia Tech. Now when do you start using your timeouts if you're the Yellow Jackets?
I would have used one right there in a 3rd and long situation, and the clock is still ticking. Georgia Tech has 2 of them, and I think because of the nature of the offensive style that you play, you need a little more time. You're an option team that doesn't really make a living throwing the football.
Well, that's why you take the field goal on the last drive. You put yourself in a situation of needing a touchdown.
Exactly, but I think you had enough time. 4th and 14 to me isn't as good as getting the ball back with about 4 minutes left.
Ball ended up on the turf, and Towles recovers, but not for much. A scramble for Towles, not only to run with the ball, but get the ball in the first place.
The thing that I would have done differently, yeah, that ball just didn't seem like it got up to him. The center was getting away. There was separation between the center and the quarterback, and before the ball is seated, and that's never a good thing. The thing I probably would have done differently than Paul Johnson was use at least one of my timeouts right there and save yourself about 30 seconds or more.
So Mike Knoll to punt it away. Stewart waved and makes the catch at the 42. It's a 32-yard punt. The River Liffey flowing through Dublin as we come down to the stretch. Close one here, and the trophy is the Keogh Naughton Trophy. That's a lot of Waterford Crystal.
That is beautiful.
You spring for that? Part of your paycheck going to making the trophy?
We don't get paid for this,
Wait,
right?
It's an enjoyable enough experience. You got to travel the countryside for a week.
Being with you, I would do it for free, that's for sure.
Let's keep that for the end of the season, huh? First down for Georgia Tech. Down by 4. Thomas looks one way, meets the rush, and keeps his feet. Thomas gets it out of bounds. Boy, that's a strong play to get away from Cavalick. 2nd down.
Saves about 30 seconds. What an amazing play. Cavalick doesn't get him to the ground, and then the wherewithal by Justin Thomas. This ball has to get beyond the line of scrimmage, and he does that. Outside the pocket, you can throw the ball away right there, and he does not touch down and get it past the line of scrimmage. Saved his team a good 30 seconds.
That would have been a 16-yard loss had the knee gone down. Instead, it's 2nd and 10 from the 41. Georgia Tech needs 59 yards. Thomas hit again and dropped this time. Matt Milano undercuts Thomas. 3rd and long.
The speed of Boston College defensively has been hard for Georgia Tech to handle. Milano comes off the edge. The personal protector and Devine, the offensive lineman, number 71, was trying to get out there. It was designed to have protection, but speed wins most of the time in football.
The 9th tackle for loss today for Boston College. No hurry up from Georgia Tech. 3rd and 19. Thomas down the sideline, incomplete, looking for June. 4th down, 2 timeouts left. What do you do?
I think they call it a Hail Mary type of thing, right? I mean, I think you have to go for it right here. You're not going to get the ball back, most likely.
Even with 2 timeouts.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I don't know that there's a really good choice. Paul Johnson seems to be keeping his offense out there. You really made that decision when it was in the red zone and it was 4th and 14, and you decided to go ahead and kick the field goal, wanting to get the ball back. You obviously didn't want to have to convert at 4th and 19 on what would be the winning drive.
That's where you end up. Thomas, 4th and 19. He's got a man, and he's got a first down. Oh my goodness. Searcy sits in the middle of the coverage and gashes Boston College for 22 on 4th and 19.
And now Georgia Tech is having to hurry up. Ricky June was outside, took the coverage with him, but look at that rope right there to Searcy. That was a seed.
3rd-year starter Thomas. Still over 2 to play. He keeps the ball and pitches. Searcy again. And the edge cut off as he gets a shoulder from Johnson. Second down, out of bounds, clock stops.
A couple of huge plays by Justin Thomas that has saved his team several seconds. The ball handling right here when it looked like he was going to get tackled with the ball still in his possession, and the throwaway earlier on this drive right there, this play is dead if Thomas doesn't get it out. He gets it out, has the ability to pitch it out.
Once the ball's set, clock moves. Thomas to throw, and he airmails this one. Third down coming up. He wanted Mills in the flat.
He's also getting on it on J.J. Green, who was another running back in there. And I think as Mills went to the flat, Green was supposed to leak over the middle. Got out a little bit late, and Thomas couldn't find him.
Got a freshman back there. Possible.
I think Mills, the freshman, was in the right place. I think it was A.J. Green that just did not really know the timing that was needed on that play.
Transfer from Georgia in his first year as well. Third down for Thomas, looking for June, and he's got him to the 25, and then some. Ricky June, another big play. Georgia Tech first down on a gain of 26.
Moore was on the initial coverage on June, and it looked like that's where the footing came into play again. It's been raining hard here most of the day, and June got the best of that tug of war with Moore.
First down for Thomas. He keeps. Thomas veering through the defense. Down to the 13, maybe the 12. Second down coming up in BC, which had so many close losses last year, 8 by 2 or fewer in a winless conference season, staring down the barrel of it again.
Georgia Tech, remember, still has 2 timeouts left. They didn't use them on that previous drive like I thought they should, but it looks really good right here.
BC only 1 timeout left. Thomas to throw. He doubles back. Thomas lost his towel, got the first down. First and goal, Georgia Tech.
Well, Jason, we said at the top that the best player on the field today may be Justin Thomas, and we've seen it on this drive. When the game's on the line, this is the 3rd play of this drive that has kept Justin Thomas's team in this game with a chance to win it.
Steve Adazio, who can barely watch, in a 14-10 score for the Eagles with 47 seconds placed on the clock after looking at our replays. Clock reset to 47 for Justin Thomas and Georgia Tech. On the ground, couple of yards. Dedrick Mills, the freshman, and Justin Thomas, we saw him in the huddle during the break. Vocal leader. His teammates have said he's been louder this year as the guy steering the ship, and timeout called, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and Thomas is, they're going to use the timeout as Georgia Tech, but Justin Thomas is the best quarterback that's ever played for Paul Johnson. And his throwing, we talked about clear at the top of this game that it's vastly underrated. He, on this drive, 4th and 19, he completed a pass to Searcy for 22. 3rd and 10, he completes a 26-yarder. And then he saved his team probably a minute by escaping and throwing the ball away and pulling the ball when the fullback was getting tackled just as he was going to put it in his stomach. Those are the kind of things that veteran quarterbacks do in clutch situations, and Justin Thomas is one of the best at running this game.
What do you let him do here if you're Paul Johnson?
I think you do the same thing you've been doing, because their offense is made for closing out drives like this. You still have 1 timeout left, so really, I think at least this play, everything was on the table and you can run the ball once again. You essentially have 3 plays in 1 all the time anyway.
Pitch to Mills, the freshman, crashes in, touchdown, Georgia Tech. ago, he was playing linebacker at Ware County High School. Now he's in Dublin scoring a possible game winner.
How about tossing it to the true freshman when the game's on the line? And that's one thing that Paul Johnson said about Dedrick Mills is he's hard to tackle. He's instinctive, he has great vision, but he always seems to be going forward.
Butker the extra point, and now BC will have 35 seconds to play with to try and get that first conference win since 2014. Some errors have been a problem for the Eagles. To the end zone it goes. A touchback. So Boston College with 35 seconds to try to get into field goal range. And the question is, what is field goal range with 2 misses from Lichtenberg today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know that Patrick Towles has the arm to throw the ball a long ways. And so it's a matter of something, you know, being batted up in the air, something unusual happening. And remember the footing once again on a slippery track. We've seen defenders fall earlier in this game.
From the 25. Towles steps up and runs. He's got a first down. There is a marker down as well back at the 25.
False start. Offense, number 74. That's a 5-yard penalty. Please reset the game clock for 35 seconds.
So no play. 35 seconds back on the clock.
A false start on offensive lineman Jimmy Lowry, the transfer in from Eastern Illinois, 30 starts. He's the most experienced guy up front and just got after it a little bit early on that play.
Clock back to 35. Towles down the middle and incomplete. He skipped it looking for maybe Smith. 2nd and 15. Maybe Walker the intended target. $10 out of 15, $122. No turnovers in the second half.
Yeah, and he got hot there for quite some time. He's in a difficult situation right here, but that young man played really well today.
Georgia Tech has Corey Griffin as a safety all the way back at its own 45, and they still get there on a short rush. Towles incomplete.
We have on the field an illegal forward pass, which carries loss of down. Boston College, by rule, has elected to take a timeout to avert the 10-second runoff. Timeout, Boston College.
So no timeouts left for BC on the illegal forward pass, and this drive keeps going backward for Boston College. And BC backsliding into its own territory. Towles needs time, and he flicks it out to the 25. Walker breaking tackles, wanted to pitch it, got drilled, ball's loose. BC had it for a moment. Irish football breaking out, and let's see. Regardless, BC is in a world of trouble. Even bigger trouble. Georgia Tech football, the Yellow Jackets are 3 seconds away from an opening win. Henri St. Amour at the bottom of the pile for the Yellow Jackets. Well, the National Hurling Championships are tomorrow, and it's going to look a little bit like that.
Hurling, don't they have those sticks? Isn't that hurling? There's
Yeah.
no sticks involved in that play right there. How about rugby? Rugby, they pitch the ball around a little bit, but yeah, that did not look normal.
Georgia Tech back in the win column after a long 2015 at 3-9. Paul Johnson's Yellow Jackets win in Dublin in comeback fashion.
The decision by Paul Johnson to kick the field goal, expect to get the ball back one more time, even though his offense is not tailor-made for those type of situations. You got to put your money on the best player on the field, which is his quarterback, and it paid off for him.
Paul Johnson with Paul Carcaterra downstairs.
Coach, you're down a little over 3 minutes. You need a touchdown. You have to go the distance against the nation's best defense from a year ago. What gave you the confidence that Justin Thomas could move this offense?
Well, we had some kids make some plays. I mean, Quay Searcy made a big catch on 4th down. Ricky June made a nice catch, and Justin made some plays. So just one of those things. Wasn't pretty. We got a lot to clean up. They're really good defensively. They were a year ago, and inside they're tough. We had a hard time blocking them.
It's a conference game. You had to travel Thursday to Dublin. You play this defense. What was that challenge like for you in game 1?
Well, it's tough. I tell you, they're as good defensively as anybody we've played, including Clemson, anybody. They're good. And we had a really hard time getting anything going consistently. We had a hard time blocking them. We missed a bunch of reads, and we get ourselves behind down in distance, which made it really hard.
Last year, you were 3-9 and so close in so many conference games. This is your first win since that Florida State game in 2015. What does this win do for this team?
Well, hopefully it gives us some momentum and we can get better. They say you make the most improvement from 1 to 2, and we certainly need to.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Justin Thomas gets his team down the field into the end zone. Kelly, what do you make of that?
The game unfolded not unlike we expected. It would be low scoring, it would be hard fought, and in the end, the veteran quarterback that had been in tough situations before made the biggest difference, and that is exactly the way this thing unfolded.
For Georgia Tech, which won just one league game last year, 17-14, the Yellow Jackets win in Dublin. Coming up next, SportsCenter brings you the latest news, and ESPN3 has the presentation of the Keough Naughton Trophy from Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Final score, Georgia Tech 17, Boston College 14. For Kelly and Paul, I'm Jason. Enjoy your day.